and welcome everybody. Sonic Talk number 301. 301 is, in fact, if you're a web programmer, will know that that is a resource moved, permanently redirected code. Not sure why I had to say that, but...
or a very quick game of darts.
A very quick game of darts, yeah. A short form of darts. Good arrows there. Dave Spears first in. Anyway, let's say hello to you while you're there. We've got Mr. Dave Spears over there in GeForce land.
Hello.
With, of course, the Synthy AKS behind him and what looks like the Oberheim. Is that the 4 or an 8 voice? I keep forgetting which one it is.
It's a 7 voice at the minute. I've swapped one out. It's got, one Sem's got to go to the Menders. Well, actually, it's kind of hanging out. Hang on. See if you can see it.
No, that's a terrible sight.
There's one sort of hanging out. So I swapped it over and it's all working. So actually, I can take the extra add on the expander box to the repairman, to Kent, who's already got, and then swap over loads of stuff that he's already got of ours. It's just a never-ending job.
Actually, I saw a really good video on Synthtopia about a bloke doing a Deadmau5 cover. I don't know if you saw that. He was just playing, and the main kind of riff, he was playing on a mono poly, which just made me think I really must get mine fixed because that sounded great. It was just really good.
Yeah.
It was a great thing. So yeah, I'm unlikely to ever. The problem is with synth fixers, and I'm sure it's not, it's just because there are so few of them. Whenever they go, it's kind of months till you get it back, really, isn't it, generally?
Well, Kent's been actually really on the case. I think he might have had these for a couple of weeks.
Wow.
I'm obviously up for Kasabian, actually. So that was the kind of, look, do a really good job on this, and I'm sure that they'll come back and give you more stuff. Right. Anyway, he's inundated. I think at last count, he had something like 180 analog synths in his workshop, stroke house, stroke.
Jesus, that's kind of worrying, isn't it?
So we were lucky to get a fast turnaround, but we're having to do it in 3 runs.
You must have mentioned my name.
Yes, Nick said you'll have it done by tomorrow.
Yeah, of course. Anyway, thanks for joining us, Dave, and we'll go over here to Mr. Rob Puricelli, who's failed muso, who stepped in at the last minute because we had a bit of a dearth of guests, frankly, because about half an hour ago it was looking like me and Dave, and Dave panicked and invited a chap who's been on before, and I panicked and invited Rob. And Rob actually just said, no, I'll come in. I'll be very happy to. So thank you, Rob. Rob runs failedmuso.com. And are you having a kind of working from home day?
Every day's a work from home day now with the new job. So that's why I can participate here and why I kind of threw myself at you earlier on today and said, I'll do it.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad you did. Very much appreciated. Of course, I met your boss, Mr. Muffwiggler.
Yes, Mr. Muffwiggler.
It doesn't sound right saying that, does it? My boss is called Mr. Muffwiggler. No.
No. Well, I've clearly had to ask permission to take some time off work to do this today. So hopefully he's either watching live or he'll watch the podcast later on. So hi, boss. I will be doing some work later on.
It's all related. It's all good stuff, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
I've just realised that my window opening there just turns you into Ob Puricelli and ailed muso, which I don't know if you're feeling well or not, but if you're not, then I suppose it could be appropriate. Anyway, we'll jump now to another guest. This is Dave's good friend, or at least I'm making an assumption there. I think he is. It's a bit pixelated, but this is Mr. Any Shillito. No fixed abode, you'll notice I've put there, Andy, because you've not got any web resources apart from the let me see, the Darkness, which is what you do. You're Darkness front of house guy, and there they are. You're just back from the States, right?
Yes, indeed. I don't know if you can hear me. My connection isn't very good.
We can hear you.
Okay?
Yeah, we can.
Okay. Just back from States. Leave again on Friday for Scandinavia and Europe.
Yeah, I noticed there's actually, if I flip to this other pack, there's a very long list of dates that take you up to the 21st of March. So it looks like...
Yeah, correct.
Wow, some of them are back-to-backs as well. God, that's pretty hardcore.
We're pretty hardcore in the Darkness camp.
I'll tell you what, Andy, what might be better is for you to switch your video off, because then we'll get a better quality audio at least, and then it won't be quite so hard to follow, because it is just a little bit crunchy. That might be the best thing to do, if that's okay. Oh, I don't know.
Camera is now off.
Okay, that might improve the audio quality, and then we get to see your lovely your lovely Phil Lynott, that classic Thin Lizzy sort of, Born to Rock kind of shot.
Much more exciting than looking at me in my kitchen, I'm sure.
So you've just been in the States. Last time we spoke to you, you've been supporting Lady Gaga. Is this still ongoing, or is this a different leg that you're working on at the moment?
No, we finished the Gaga thing in just before Christmas, and then America was 5 weeks of our own shows, club shows. Any more Gaga? We did 4 months of it, and I believe it's over now. So yeah, back to our own shows, which is nice.
Yeah, does that mean you get to have the front of house and you can hog the dressing room and have all the jelly babies? You don't have to pander to any other star. You can be the difficult stars.
Yes, which is what it's all about.
I remember last time you came on, you had a fantastic story of what was the worst technical thing that happened, and it was the hitting the solo on the I think it was on the master bus, one of the buses, and it just killed everything halfway through the show, which I thought was a brilliant admission.
Yes, never an easy moment.
No. So, what do you make any unreasonable requests now? You're sort of now it's your tour essentially, or are you just kind of easy life?
Well, they're pretty easy, really, but I make requests that other people seem to think are unreasonable, like can you stop talking when I'm mixing, that kind of thing.
Surely you couldn't be able to hear anybody talking at a Darkness gig, or is that sensitive acoustic number?
There are very, very quiet moments, but there is one. And people always choose to talk in that one because it's the only time they can hear themselves, I guess. But yeah, it's usually local house guys and stuff that are...
yeah, that's no good, is it?
Just used to talking. I don't like, on a serious note, I don't like anybody in a particular area.
In your mixing area?
I like a bit of free space.
You like to flail?
I do flail a little bit. And there's the occasional Liberace-esque.
What sort of delay, cut, flourish?
Yeah.
Good for you.
I like to put a minor show of my own on sometimes.
Excellent. Does anybody ever watch it?
Somebody did come up to me once actually after a gig and said, I spent most of it watching you.
Oh,
but
wow.
I have to say it wasn't a Darkness gig. That wasn't a Darkness gig. It was when the artist on stage wasn't particularly enticing to watch.
I was going to say, which might be a perfect link into our first item, which of course is the fact that Kraftwerk have been playing extensively. They've had a series of 8 dates at the Tate Modern, which looks like a great gig, and it seems like the place to be. So sadly, Dave Robinson couldn't make it this week because he actually went on Saturday night, and I haven't heard from him. But if I switch to here, we've got the pictures of what's been going on, and there's a bit of video and stuff. But what was really funny. I've got a slot. So this is posted by somebody called Pete Albrecht, who basically said that he posted a video from it. And I just wanted to quickly show it because this by all accounts is the gig to be at. So there they are, and this of course the classic, the model. They've been doing one album a night, and I don't know if so tonight is the mix 1991. And tomorrow night, which is the last one, is Tour de France, presumably without any references to Lance Armstrong, I'd imagine. Right, I'm not going to play all of that because I'll get busted for it. That's why I'm talking over it. But it seems to be like the gig to be at. And looking at that, I was just thinking, God, it actually looks a bit like either a political debate where they all stand behind lecterns, or a quiz show. But it's the classic 4 blokes messing around with laptops. It doesn't really, but they seem to be able to get away with it. And there is a bit of a sort of Guardian summary from one of the Guardian journalists on the Tate Modern site that just sort of says, I don't know why it works, because we give everybody stick for doing exactly that, but somehow it just works with them. I wonder why that is. I mean, I'm guessing there might be at least 1 or 2 Kraftwerk fans amongst my guests. I'm not sure if Any Shillito is one of them, but I'll start with Rob. You haven't been, have you?
No. Do you know, I saw the tickets come out. And
60 quid, I think they started at.
Yeah, and I thought, well, I'd want to watch all 8, and then they put this ridiculous embargo on there that you couldn't buy blocks of tickets or stuff, and I thought £60 a pop, and there's 8 gigs. It's a lot of money, and I'm seeing Depeche Mode and Peter Gabriel this year, so that's already taken up a couple of £100. And yeah, I love Kraftwerk. I totally respect everything they've done. I've got all the albums, and unquestionably brilliant band. But do I want to stand in the Tate and watch 4 people stand behind, like you say? For it looks like the first round of Pointless, doesn't it? It's just sell me the.
You
visuals.
are the weakest link. Yeah,
indeed. And yeah, sell me a DVD or a Blu-ray with the visuals on, and I'll pop my headphones on, put the music on, and I'll do my own little thing, because that's all you're doing. And you stick a pair of 3D glasses on, and you're just watching 4 blokes, 3 of which aren't even original members of Kraftwerk. So by that, I mean, if one of them was gone and the other 3 were the originals, I could say, yeah.
You could wear these 3. You get these 3D glasses. It's a 3D show. It's been a massive success. I mean, everybody's it's so massive that I managed to write a story about not being there, and it got loads of page views, which is partly one of the reasons why we're talking about it. But also, it's quite a unique event in many ways, because I mean, I can't imagine this is likely to happen again anytime. But yeah, you can see there. I don't know if this they're now going for over £200 a ticket. So in fact, if you then chose at the last minute now to say, "Sod it, I'm going to go tomorrow night," I bet you probably pay £400 for a ticket, and you could have actually bought a ticket for every night for only £80 less.
But the thing is, would you want to go and see a band that's 3/4 not the real band that actually made that fantastic music, and whose ingenuity and brilliance shaped the way that electronic music is made nowadays?
That's a good point. That is a good point. I did actually try, and I made a contact via Mute and said, "Look, is there any chance we can talk to anybody about the tech setup?" And it was just like, no. But they did ask. I mean, the person in question did ask. I replied back, "Is that an embargo thing, or can we talk to somebody afterwards?" But it's amazing that it's such a massive gig. I mean, it's great they're doing it in London. Dave, do you know anything about this? Has this got any? You got any inside information, or would you like to go? Answer any of those questions in any order.
Would I like to go? I would quite like. Yeah, no, I would. I'd like to have gone to the Trans Europe Express night to meet David Bowie. But yeah, I understand what Rob's saying. There is that element of it. It kind of all got a bit establishment. But then actually, you have to think that
Sorry, there's a grey line in the chat room there.
Go on.
It's gig equipment. Oops, hold on, I'll get there. What's a gig equipment? 1 CD player and 4 minibars. That's fantastic. Yeah, sorry, carry on, Dave.
No, not at all. Yeah, nothing really much to add. Yeah, I kind of agree with Rob in a way, that the fact that you've got one original member, maybe. Weirdly enough, I do have some pictures of their tech setup, but I can't give them to anybody under penalty, under fear of death, basically.
I'm guessing Ableton Live and and 4 master keyboards.
I can't say anything at all.
But I'm pretty sure that they were starting to use Ableton Live, from what I recall. I just seem to remember. I think I might have, because I was talking to Daniel Miller about it, I think, when we did a piece with him, and I'm pretty sure it was mentioned. But my memory is probably only slightly better than them.
I would love to see him with old school gear. That would be really cool, the same way that Jar did his concerts with the old analog gear. That would be
You'd think from the amount of money they're probably making out of these, they could have made the effort. But yeah. I'd have thought a lot of that stuff is not, there's only one of them. It's interesting, though, when you watch that, there's something about them when they're standing there with those kind of neon-edged lecterns. A lot of those sounds just remind me of Neon Light, and I don't know what it is. It's like there's a sort of quality to it. It's like lightsaber sounds or something. It's a curious thing. I think we just had a little bit of a power outage there, which might result in us, being offline forever.
You've frozen.
Have I frozen? I've frozen.
Rob's good.
So sorry about that. We had a bit of a Skype outage, or just a brownout or something here, which I'm not quite sure. Any Shillito, I'm guessing, coming back to Kraftwerk, if you can remember, that's what we were talking about just before all this happened. You ever had any? Yes. You've been on the road for a while. Have you Have you been to any Kraftwerk gigs, or have you?
I haven't been to Kraftwerk gigs, although I have a lot of respect for them and what they did and do and represent. It wouldn't be the sort of thing that I'd probably. I mean, I don't go to a lot of gigs.
No, I suppose if it's the day job, it's probably
Yeah, you finish up kind of going.
Yeah,
you
no, you're all right,
like that, mate.
I want to watch EastEnders. Yeah.
Well, no, it's not so much that. It's just you just finish up wanting to mix it differently.
Ah, yeah. I mean, from what I could hear of what they were doing, it sounded pretty.
Well, I do.
Yeah, no, I can understand that. I tend to find that happens to me when I'm mixing, and other people come up to me and say, "You want to be doing it differently," rather than not that I do it very often, which is probably why I don't do it very often. But yeah, I suppose I
do have a friend though who I spoke to about an hour ago. Who's a production manager, Bjork's production manager, and he went for his birthday and he absolutely loved it. But I think a lot of it was he was looking at the production values of the show and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, by all accounts, it's an amazing surround sound system, 3D graphics, and all that sort of thing. But I mean, the luxury of being able to put on a show like that for 8 nights. I mean, which means you probably get a fairly decent amount of production rehearsal as well. I mean, you're going to be able to put on a fabulous show, I would have thought.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is the ideal situation to do several nights in the same place.
Yeah,
because you're just honing it all the time.
Those are the kind of dream gigs, aren't they? I'd imagine.
They are indeed.
Yeah, and you just walk away from it and know you don't have to be up all night, kind of packing away or whatever, or travelling or whatever. That's just a fantastic thing.
No, and after a while, people generally don't. Your sound checks are more relaxed because you're refining things as opposed to trying to make things work as quickly as possible.
Yeah, excellent. Anyway, we'll move on to another subject, just purely because I feel like I've lost a bit of time, but due to the technicals. I'm just thinking, would your time be better spent talking about the Grammys or Funk Gods Play the Sub Fatty? I'm guessing probably the Grammys.
I would think probably the Grammys. Yeah.
All right, well, I think that's a good thing to talk about because somebody must have watched it. Apparently, have I got anything to play? Let's just have a look. I'm not sure if I actually do. I've got. Well, we know the Grammys actually happened. They happened at the weekend, and there were winners and what have you. And although it didn't seem to have the same amount of thrill about it, and of course, the one thing that did come about is CBS, who are the broadcasters of it, had this rather draconian dress code, which meant you weren't allowed to show the curved area of buttocks or breast or genital areas. It's very explicit in its language. It's actually quite funny. And then, of course, people proceeded. Well, most people actually seemed to do the job, apart from Rihanna, who had a see-through top, and Katy Perry, who I think wins the best presented female parts, which I'm just going to show for our listeners here. I can't imagine how she got away with that, but astonishing. Her boyfriend's a very lucky chap. And amazingly managing to keep eye contact while talking to her.
I don't care how she got away with it. I'm just glad she did.
Yeah, astonishing. But, I mean, Grammys generally, it feels like it's very pedestrian these days and sort of not very rock and roll and rebellion and stuff. I wrote a little editorial piece about that kind of thing, and that Deadmau5 showed up with a kind of your shit bums me out hat, and he had to put a bit of tape over it for the red carpet stuff. And actually looked like he really didn't want to be there at all anyway. But it just seems like, does it have any relevance? Because, I mean, you look at the winners and losers, and it's sort of like Deadmau5 didn't get anything, Skrillex got a load of stuff. And I listened to the Skrillex album, the Bangarang thing, which is kind of like, it just sounds like somebody who always wanted to play the didgeridoo and has made a career out of, now I can get a synth that sounds like one and I'm going to use that over everything, to me. But, that's just my opinion. But do they have any relevance, do you think, Dave?
Oh, don't come to me.
Oh, all right then. Well, you see, the thing is what I'm building up to the technical side of it, which then Andy can. You see, okay. It's called structure.
I have no opinion on any of the whole Grammy stuff, apart from the fact that it was nice to see Dave Smith and Kakahashi get their little...
Yes, we sort of knew it was. I don't know who else was in the category, but yeah, good for them. Dave Smith and Kakahashi got for the invention of MIDI, which is brilliant. And I'm imagining that he didn't get to go up on the pedestal in the main body. They kind of they hive all the sort of technical people off to a sort of sub award where you just get like a few bored photographers and some sponsors sort of backplates, and that's it, isn't it, really?
Yeah. He should have insisted, shouldn't he? And then just kind of made some massive speech.
They should have, yeah. They
kind of going, who's this guy?
Yeah, they could have just had some really dreadful mod patterns playing in the background, some general MIDI tunes.
Yeah,
that would have been a good laugh.
Yeah.
Did anyone actually watch it? Rob, did you get a chance to look
know.
at any of this? I mean, I don't know if it was even on, to be honest. I didn't make any effort.
I tried to watch the Grammys all the way through a couple of years ago, and it was just when it was kind of turning from something that was kind of had some credibility into now it's just I don't know whether it's me just getting old, but it just seems to be an industry pat on the back, and the technical awards, which I think they're usually the night before, and like you say, in some much smaller hall. I like catching up with those clips and that kind of stuff. And best surround sound albums, damn sight more interesting than best pop song. But I don't know. It's all media and celebrity now, and I don't think it's that relevant anyway. It's as relevant as the Brits, and they ceased to be relevant many years ago.
Yeah, I suppose so. Although I'm quite pleased. Just a few points of the award. Let's see. I'm glad to see that Gautier got some stuff, because that is for a kind of #1 song and album and all of that business. It's actually quite a funkily produced record. It's sort of got some acoustic merit and some kind of proper songwriting, and it's not all done, with sample sets and what have you. And I quite liked, or maybe, but they've hidden it very well. So I was glad to see they got some stuff there. But apart from that, there was a lot of beards there this year. I noticed. Mumford.
There's a lot of beards everywhere this year.
Beards. Yeah. Your chaps have got quite a lot of beards between them as well, haven't they? So
there's a couple of beards. I'm now adorned with a beard.
Is that peer pressure? Hello, he's gone.
I think somebody posted up something. Have I gone? Am I here?
No, you're still here.
Okay, yeah. So when we were on tour, somebody in America, somebody posted up on Facebook just one of those little things that said, "You become like the 5 people you spend the most time with."
So do you think that's it?
And I just posted back, "Oh dear, really?" Because I'm spending 4 of the people I spend all of my time with. One wears a catsuit, one looks Mexican. One, and although it's not the hazy, crazy days of the past, they're still crazy. So,
so who are you modelling yourself on? Is it Justin there?
I think it just grew. I think the beard grew before I knew what was going on. But
no time to shave.
No time to shave.
That's a great name for an album, don't you think?
It's a great name for an album. It's a great name for a B-side.
A C-side, yeah.
C-side, lower stuff.
No time. I think I'm going to use that as the show title. But I mean, just coming back, I did
pass that on to the boys. I think they'd be quite pleased to use.
No time to shave. Yeah, if I could just get a credit, that'd be fine. Just a link somewhere.
But the C-side thing, I think the lower stuff for angles good.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, you call it. Yeah. The thing that's cool about this, though, and as I started looking into it, there was all sorts of other stuff. I'm glad to see Jack White managed to allegedly drop the F-bomb during the live show, even though they swear it was fight and not the F-bomb. I really want him to have done it, because he's the one person who I would expect no less from, and someone who wouldn't really care. He's only there because he wants to rock, and apparently he did rock. I didn't see it, but the other thing that came up was that I was trying to find out about the technicalities of it, because I mean it's there are 180 stagehands. And they've got 3 stages, and it must be very difficult from a live point of view to work in these kind of television specials. And one thing that was quite interesting, there's an article on Variety. Technology news, and the digital tech and how they set it all up. And back in the old days, apparently they used to use 2 desks. One would be, setting up for the next band, and the other one would be doing the next band. So, you'd say, well, you had to kind of reset 5 knobs because you do it from an image to kind of set. And that must have been absolutely terrifying from a kind of timing point of view. But now what they do, they've gone back to when digital came in, they used 1 desk, and then they've gone back to using 2. So what happens is the band sound checks, then the next band is setting up, obviously, and they're line checking on the other album. Then once they're back at the other desk, and they flip the presets over, and then basically the band finish sound checking, go into the mobile of where the second desk is, where they play back their sound check, and they continue to set up the mix from what they've just done, which I just think is a genius idea. So essentially, they end up with a double length sound check. I mean, it's like virtual sound check. It probably means nothing to you, Andy, because you think, well, that's obvious, bleeding obvious. But you must have been in the situation yourself where you with the Darkness or wherever, where you're in high pressure sort of TV specials or award kind of things. I mean, have you ever had to deal with that kind of stuff yourself?
Yeah. Digital desks have been around for some time now, and they've been using them in TV for quite a while. So when we do those things, the desks that you use in the room are digital, and the broadcast desks are digital. But having two on site is not normal, and it is a very good idea because people do tend to. I mean, for instance, on the Gaga.
Yeah.
So I wasn't allowed to load my desk file until 15 minutes before our show.
Right.
But you've done several shows on the same equipment, on the same desk. So, it's not really a problem. But having the opportunity to let the band members or their front of house or sound or well, certainly not management, that's usually a nightmare, but getting a representative of the band to go in and check what the guy's done.
Yeah,
is a very good idea.
Yeah, I mean,
also keeping everybody out of that place while the original sound check's going on, where all the pressure is. I always have a thing with TV people where I'll just go in and introduce myself and then say, right, I'm going to leave you to it. When you're happy, give me a shout and I'll pop in.
Right.
And I pop in and refine what they've done.
Okay. Because sometimes they can get it so terribly wrong, as we've heard, when there's the solo or whatever, and they're focusing on the piano player or something, and it just doesn't...
Yeah, I mean, that's really common. It astounds me that that's still really common.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing worse, because, I mean, it's like, and it's sort of like, ouch, it does look, yeah.
But it is. Yeah, it's live, but, a small amount of research into...
Yeah.
Usually each act only plays one song or a couple of songs, and when you're doing these things, there are like 2 sound run-throughs, 2 camera run-throughs, 2 more for the director. So people it's a controlled environment. People should know where things are coming from.
Yeah, and I suppose the thing is that if you've got that many run-throughs, then they've got all the B-roll, so they can cover. They've got shots they can cover. I mean, I imagine, in something like the Grammys, they must do a dress rehearsal where they film everything, and they must run those cameras alongside their state, so that they can always flip to something else at the last minute. I mean, it must be. I mean, the vision mixing side of things must be amazing. So, do you find that when you go to these TV studios or any of these kind of events, that you're welcome, your input is welcome? Because one thing that there's mentioned in the Variety. The Variety article was, sometimes, the guy will come and mix it. Sometimes they'll just look over the shoulder and kind of go, yeah, a bit more here, a bit more there. And there must be that dynamic must be quite hard to read sometimes.
Yeah, it's quite tenuous. It can be, but as I say, I think it revolves around letting people do their thing,
right,
and then going and realizing that
they've got most of it right. They just need a bit of tweaking.
Well, yeah, or however much you need to correct, that you can't have everything, and you need these people in your side come broadcast time. So, ask for what you need to get it to where it's a good representation for the band or the artist. But if that's not happening easily, then don't push too hard because then you lose.
Yeah, and I suppose you don't want any resentment or kind of, you know what, I can't be bothered with you, you're an arsehole, So
absolutely, and they come across plenty of those on such an event,
Yeah, well, I'm sure they do. So, I mean, because they've got a front of house as well, so obviously there's sound that has to be done in the thing. Would you get involved in that as well, or would you focus purely on the broadcast, or kind of split yourself and kind of go, yeah, that's fine, okay, we're good to go, and then sit back and swivel in your gas chair?
Sorry, I missed the first bit of that. Was that the sound in the room?
Yeah. Would you be involved in both aspects of that?
I would probably go and set the sound up in the room at the sound check. And if it was a major broadcast like the Grammys, I would be in the truck during the mix.
Right, for the broadcast side of it, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and you just play it safe in the room because it's a TV event and people in the room are not really that concerned with what it sounds
They're
like.
more worried about the camera zooming up and looking up their skirt or whatever it may be, yeah, and all their posturing for the cameras, I'd imagine, yeah.
Yeah, and I think on the relevance of these things, I think that there used to be a...
Hello? Sorry, I think I just got that. It used to be irrelevant. Do you think it's not
with things like... I don't think it's so relevant now. I think it's more to do with publicity for...
It's kind of like, it's either that or doing the Super Bowl halftime.
That section of the entertainment industry itself, and also for the artist.
Right.
Exactly, yeah. So I think you've got to keep that in mind when you're watching them. You know, there's a reason that Skrillex got the award and deadmau5 didn't. Just in the same way that there's a reason that the Spice Girls got loads of awards when they did, and indeed the Darkness did when they did, because the industry couldn't really ignore it. You know, it needed to be attached to it. So
yeah, it's interesting. I just going back to the I don't know if Beyonce did anything there, but I watched a bit of the Super Bowl thing. I know that there's awful pictures of just a really badly frozen frame shot of Beyonce looking like a beast, which is the only time I've ever seen her looking anything but kind of adorable. But I watched that whole thing and that video, and I mean, just the level of stagemanship, you know, that level of putting on a show, it really is. I mean, someone like her and her people are just absolute, you know, they must have the best people working on. I saw her do the I think I mentioned it when I saw her do the Glastonbury thing as well, and it was so showbiz, but it was kind of like the pinnacle of the acceptable face of showbiz, if you see what I mean, rather than cheesy. And do you find that that's, I mean, when you're working with artists, are they thinking very hard about what they're going to be perceived like, or are they just kind of doing their own thing? I mean, you're obviously working with... Hello?
Hello, am I still here?
Yes, you are. You're
okay.
Buzzing in and out.
Yeah.
Did you hear any of that?
Yeah, I did. I think most artists now are concerned from a professional point of view with how they're perceived. And for instance, when we were doing the Gaga stuff, because we were playing stadiums, not even arenas, and my boys, Darkness, weren't really used to doing that, we filmed the shows from front of house every night so they could watch how it looked from a distance.
Okay.
And obviously with Darkness, it's a fairly visual show and there's a lot of showmanship involved, but it did actually affect the way they developed the performance and the set list. So Justin Justin develops the headstand on the drum riser,
right,
star kick thing, because
you have to make those kind of grand gestures, don't you?
I should get some links up. He developed that. He basically stands on his head and he uses his legs to conduct the audience clapping instead of his hands. And he came up with that principally because it projected better over a massive distance and on the screens. And indeed, would get 40,000 Lady Gaga fans clapping their hands because it was quite a cool move. But that did result, that came out of some study of what can we do to excite people that are 200 yards away from us. Clearly not the case with Kraftwerk.
No, I'm guessing they probably haven't been studying any videos on how to excite an audience. But I mean, the thing is that Twitter was full of amazing imagery from above the stage, and the vivid. Really, they've obviously really worked hard on the colours and stuff. And it's interesting they're wearing those kind of Tron suits, which have a very interesting way of reflecting the light off them and stuff. So it's quite cool. I don't know. And also, it would be great to be nominated for a Grammy, wouldn't it? I mean, working on something that's nominated for a Grammy or even winning one. I mean, we kind of...
I think... Yes.
Hello?
Went a bit quiet there.
That's all right.
My bandwidth's terrible.
Yeah, it's off, isn't it? But I can still hear you.
Yeah, and I think the point you made earlier about the sounds sounding very neon and lightsabery, I think that kind of show really does benefit from those kind of lights, because I think a good lighting guy, and certainly somebody in that situation where there's not much of a visual happening on stage, is actually voicing the music with lights. and can bring your attention. It can bring your attention to a synth line, a particular synth line, or a particular kick drum moment, or something
I
like
see what
that.
you're saying.
So it's a different sort of show, you know. In fact, you don't expect to see Kraftwerk in cat suits doing handstands.
Would be pretty awesome.
To see a lot of neon light and an impressive show.
Sonic 377 says in the chat, 3766 in the chat room says the Tate venue is also very small, so there's a different visual need, which again is a very valid point. And they've obviously been able to design specifically for it, and it's more intimate, I guess.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Yeah. Which brings me to, well, we were sort of talking about acrobatics and what have you. Perhaps we can now go on to it's sort of still a NAMM story, but the tale of NAMM seems to be getting longer and longer as people invest more time and effort into making it so. And obviously we've got some good stuff here. But I wanted to play this one because this is cracking. I'm sure I've got it right. So if I play this, it'll probably work. Let's see if it does. Be nice if it did, and not freeze my machine. Here we go. Yeah, this is a Moog video that's posted. Leg ends at play. Stevie Wonder, Dr. Lonnie Smith, I think that's Lonnie Liston Smith, Larry Dunn and Bernie Worrell, and this is him just sort of playing on it. And it's basically a chance to do a bit of wigging out. But these are kind of funk legends. And what an array. But the thing that got me, I'm not going to play it all. But I would really like to play Stevie Wonder because he's doing things using legato and note priority that just made me kind of go, you've got to be joking. And this was just off the cuff. I think he's playing something along the lines of Boogie on Reggae Woman. And hold on, I'm just going to... There we go. Here he is. Stevie Wonder. That was... Yeah, that sounds boogie like, but I'll stop there. But there's something about that. I was listening to the way that he was using the slurs and that. I thought, wow, I've never heard anybody play a synthesizer like that before. I mean, it wasn't as accurate as, you wouldn't think, oh, that's a dead ringer for but that's the sort of, the movement in it was astonishing. Now, Dave Spears, you are a man who might well appreciate such virtuosity. I mean, it's a shame they couldn't give it a bit more atmosphere around the sounds. The sounds weren't necessarily the greatest. It's very dry signal.
But all the same. All the sounds were the same, except when Bernie Worrell got on. I was like, so is that sub-fatty like stuck on one sound or something? But if you added Donny Hathaway to that roster of people, that's it. That's virtually my entire life in there. My life's worth of influences in playing. Astonishing, really. Although I've got to say, there was something a bit weird about that Stevie Wonder thing. The Wonder Crew are a bit... I don't know. There's all sorts of stuff goes on around the Wonder Crew.
I'd imagine. Well, I mean, undoubtedly, yeah.
I think what happens, he sends his kind of people out, or his people go out a couple of days before and find out what's happening in the show. And then he gets kind of guided around, I think, according to those booths. But you can't take, if he comes on your booth, you can't take any pictures of him without express permission. There's all sorts of stuff that goes on. And if you look at that video closely, there's some really strange morphing stuff that goes on in the background. It's almost like they've just cut Stevie out and kind of overlaid, and there's something going on in the background. Whether it was some backslapping or whether it was some people being removed from the booth is quite interesting.
You mean...
I digress. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, no, really impressive. Really impressive. I can tell, Rob, you're itching to get in on this one. I don't suppose. Well, you obviously weren't at NAMM, but I can honestly say the Sub-Fatty doesn't sound like that one sound. So I'm hoping to get one for review as soon as possible. But nice little, nice to have that level of visitors coming along and playing. Queuing up to have a go on the Sub. I wonder if they pushed out the way. Thomas Dolby.
Yeah, I'd rather watch those four black guys on a monophonic synth than Kraftwerk. To be honest, I'd pay excellent money to go and see just those four jamming on a Sub-Fatty. No, I mean it sounds really, really good. I was a little bit wary of another kind of Moog monophonic type synth, but you know, I'm sure it's got its gap to fill, and Stevie is just words fail me. He's just
I was. That's the thing that got me. You know, you sort of forget. It's like when he plays harmonica solos and you just go, hold on, what you did what?
You can't.
Can a human play that sort of thing? Is that possible?
Absolutely.
The bizarre moment, the bizarre Stevie Wonder moment, that for me was, and there's always got to be one of these gags in a NAMM show whenever Stevie Wonder's around, was Stephen Slate showing him the Raven MTX touchscreen, which seemed a little. Yeah, I mean, you have to think, why? What's that for? It's just a photo op, isn't it?
Stevie Wonder could probably come up with something really, really good on that because he's Stevie Wonder.
Yeah, no, you're probably right. But a great idea for a video, and I'm going to leave Andy out. I don't know if, Andy, you're a fan of any of these guys or whether it means nothing to you at all, Vienna.
I'm not an aficionado. I love those sounds and I love those bass lines.
Yeah.
And remember things.
Who...
Funking for Jamaica.
Yeah, I was just going to... Who actually played that bass line? That would have been one that would have been good to hear. Anybody know? There's a pop pissers question.
Oh, that should be somebody like Worrell, shouldn't it? That really should be. Right, yeah. That's it. I'm going.
But I didn't realise that Bernie Worrell played on Talking Heads. So did he play that solo, that solo in Burning Down a House?
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
It's just attitude. They play with such attitude. I have to say, that's the one thing I really do miss about NAMM is that sometimes you'll just get these guys come up who are quite clearly from the school of hard knocks, and they just come up with fat fingers and they just play these riffs and grooves that you just go, whoa, so much. There's just so much attitude there.
I have to say, the video that you sent me, and I saw these guys. These were the guys that were jamming on the Dave Smith stand. Now, these have, well, check this out. This is pretty amazing, I have to say. Well, apart from that intro, it's a bit loud there. Now, the guy playing the polysynth just does not look like your average funky dude polysynth player, but I've never heard of him, but he's whatever it is you need, he's definitely got a lot of it. Really amazing. He's called Peter Dyer, and that's Carson Day on there playing the Tempest, which has got it's got the groove, hasn't it? And the stuff I saw them playing was just them jamming together, and that was really... Yeah, I just thought that was absolutely brilliant. And so that was Peter Dyer's keys, Carson Day on the Tempest. He actually provided a couple of banks of the preset sounds on which is where I recognise his name, and Zach Rudolph on bass. But that was, I mean, because normally I could care, you know, normally when you see that sort of funk workout, it's like, oh dear, yeah, really, you know. But that adds something a bit extra, didn't it? That was just really quite special. And Dave, you found that one. Just give me a second. My Skype quit. Excellent. Having a bad technology day today. Don't you usually have these?
Oh, well.
Ah, there we go. We seem to have got everybody back now. That's bizarre. I'd asked you a question, somebody. I can't remember who it was now because I had to reboot Skype. It just spontaneously crashed. It was very peculiar.
That was matey. No, we were just talking about the whole... the tightness of that keyboard player. And guys.
He was brilliant, wasn't he? Ah, brilliant.
Because I think I'd quite like to have gone up to Stevie after Stevie did that jam and went, maybe we should put like a 16C quantize on that, Stevie.
Yeah, maybe you want to come and listen to these guys.
How long you'd have lasted before his kind of minders would have killed me. Yeah. Yo, check these guys out. Yeah. No, I suspect it
would have been good to have Mr. Wonder. Well, that was right next door. It would have been good to have Mr. Wonder show up on that one as well.
But did you notice with those videos, Bernie Worrell and Mr. Dunn and the other guy whose name escapes me at the moment, they were all filmed from the front. Stevie was filmed from the back behind the plexiglass.
Yeah.
So was that a?
Was that the apparition that I could see?
Yeah, that's possibly. Right. That's what it is. You're actually, Dave. You're your what's it theory is perhaps blown out the water now.
Yeah, well, you
Sorry,
know,
Dave.
always good for being overreactionary and unsustainable.
My Skypes, it's all not work. I think what I'm thinking. I just really quite like to forget about today. Technically, for some reason now all the Skype shots are not showing up, and it's gonna. I think what we might have to do is just maybe quit while we're ahead, and that is in the fact that we've got everybody online and all of those things, but there's no video, is there? Oh man. I'll tell you what. I think what I'm going to do is perhaps say let's call it a day for today, because obviously technically I think that brownout on
everybody's video.
The brownout on the power
And no audio.
No audio. Have you not got? Can you not hear anything, you guys?
I can hear all of you and see all of you.
Okay. Yeah, 301.
Yeah,
The 301
it's gone very
code,
high.
permanently redirected, resource moved, is probably the most apt interpretation of the number of the show. So, I think what I'm going to do is probably call it a day for today, because I honestly, the only way I'm going to get this back is by rebooting everything and in the right order, and then getting all this. And to be honest, it's 5:10, and I just think it's perhaps not worth doing. Let's quit while we're ahead. So I want to say thank you to everybody for joining us, even though there won't be any kind of sign of them on the video sign out. But I want to say thanks to Dave Spears. I'll go there, and you can be Dave in sort of non-video. There you go. You can have a black screen with
video.
Yeah, I can hear your audio, but that's it. But Dave, thanks for joining us and hanging in there. I'm terribly sorry about this. I don't know what's happened there, but that just seems to be the way. It's funny, isn't it?
So the best.
Go.
No, I was just saying. So the best topic we'll drag it over to next week.
Okay. The I Dream of Wires trailer.
Yeah.
God.
God,
I've ordered
I
it.
needed an entire box of Kleenex for that particular. I have to say.
All
right. And on that note, good night.
Good night. Yeah, thank you, Dave. That was I'm very much appreciative you sharing that thought with me just before I finish. So, all right. Well, we'll resume next week, and hopefully it won't be we won't have a bad tech day. It's just one of those days, and I'm sorry for you, Rob. It's Failed Muso over there. Failedmuso.com. But maybe we can include another one of your topics this next time. But thanks for joining us at the last minute, even though you've sort of haven't really had a fair crack at it this week because of technicalities.
Well,
Thanks.
Yeah. Pleasure to be here, and whenever you need me, I'm here.
Thank you very much. That's very kind of you. Although I imagine after this week you might reconsider that statement. But thank you indeed. And we'll also say thanks to Any Shillito, who I'm just going to throw that up, who's back off on tour with The Darkness, end of the week?
Friday morning.
So, well, thank you.
I don't know if you've still got video.
No, I'm
drying
not.
a cat suit in the airing cupboard.
You're drying a cat suit in the airing cupboard. Nice.
I am indeed.
It's one of your many tasks.
It is at the moment, actually, but there you go.
Excellent.
More about that next time.
Yeah, well, thank you, Andy. Have a great tour, and thanks everybody for joining us. And once again, sorry for the technical issues, but hopefully there will be enough here for you to get your Sonic Talk fix. We'll be back next week with hopefully not more of the same, less of the same, and more other stuff where everything works. So that's it for this week. Thank you very much, folks, and we'll call it a day.